Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, welcome. Today we are going to discuss about marketing strategy. It's very important to have the right strategy. From my experience, many companies ignore it just to implement generic strategies. It doesn't help. It's tough to get any results if you have no the right strategy. It's better to know your way, and I'm so excited to discuss a lot more about that with Chris Hogan. How are you?
Good, thanks, Anatoly. Thanks for having me.
Big pleasure. Yeah, big pleasure that you can find time, even at 5 a.m. in Australia. That's cool. I love it. Yeah. So if I can give something back, I will at any time too. And what I can see when people can find the time like this, they love what they do. So, Chris, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and anything that can help our listeners to learn more about you.
I guess, mate. Firstly, I love waking up early. And you get the morning right. You own the morning, you own the day, and when you
Mhm,
own the day, you own the week, and rinse and repeat, right? So discipline's super important to me.
mhm,
Uh, as such, is marketing strategy, and I've been 25 years in marketing now, and yeah, I've learned a lot. I didn't always believe in strategy. I'll be honest. I
mhm.
was, I was, I've been known to be very bullish and just want to get in there and get stuff done. But since becoming a strategist about 7 years ago, I think, um, might be longer now. I don't know, but I I developed a methodology that really helps people understand the importance of strategy and makes it a little bit simpler to implement so that you don't have to take months, for example, uh, to develop that strategy. You can, e- even if you spent 45 minutes scribbling on a piece of paper what it is you wanted to do, that would actually be better than just going straight in and taking action.
Nice. Let's talk more about your methodology. I think it's important. And I see when companies implement a lot or focus on various directions, it's tough. It's tough because you can't be successful in many directions. At least if you have resources, if you have a huge team, probably you can. But for me, it's better to become the best in something and then to extend with extra resources. So tell more about your methodology, why you created this methodology, and how it stands out from the rest that we know today.
Yeah. So I created it because I was seeing that people were being very reactive with their marketing. So they would go, all of a sudden, we've seen a decline in sales, or we've uh, created a product and now we need to market it. Um, and like both of those two things are just, I guess, recipes for disaster. So let's look at the second one. For example, creating a product and then marketing it is very reactive and quite uh, back to front. So the best thing to do is to find a problem and work out how to solve it. And and it's even better when it's a problem worth solving. For example, it does something really great for mankind at large, the planet, or whatever that I guess social um, responsibility or environment responsibility that comes with that product can be. Then you have created something that I think really resonates very well with markets, especially nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
And then the methodology is called proactive. So just in itself, it's already describing that we need to be proactive. We need to think about what the market actually wants and do our research around that market and develop the product around them. So that research component is often a massive mistake that organizations make. They
Mhm.
don't do enough research. Sometimes they actually have done years of research without, I guess, fully knowing it. But the really successful ones do know it. And that is like a perfect example is Phil Knight from Nike. He was an athlete. He
Yeah.
understood the problem from the inside out. So he was part of the community that was experiencing the problems, and he therefore had done years of research, like experiential research, with understand the problems that the shoes were creating, or that they just weren't, I don't know, springy enough, whatever it was. And so then he went and created a better shoe.
Yeah.
So, but that that creation, that took a long time, and there was lots of uh, I guess insights that he discovered along the way to further improve that product and innovate and iterate.
Yeah. I learned his story, amazing because he was broken many times, but what I like in him, his energy. I think energy can beat everything. Energy can beat uh, skills, experience, because the best marketers usually test a lot, experiment, and they try. Nobody knows what actually will work, but they try many things. And yeah, founder of Nike did it. He searched for new, I don't know, new customers, new trades, new production, so much time, and he had this energy. He invested all his money, on this process. But I can't recommend this one. I know from my personal experience when I was broken. Yeah, I was bankrupt in 2008. I invested all my money to financial company. Success was good, so but I didn't consider the world crisis. Yeah, I consider everything. We had a lot of sales, big clients, contracts, but I didn't have experience that this life is not predictable. Something can happen. It happened, and I was bankrupt in 2 months. I lost almost everything, all my investments, even worse. I got this huge debts. I spent like 5 years to work hard to give them back, But I learned from experience that it's better not to go all in. We don't know what can happen, but founder of Nike, yeah, he did it. He played on this dangerous game and he won. Yeah, love it. His energy. Chris, I want to ask about choosing the right channel because marketing is huge. If you speak about marketing strategy, I don't know, digital marketing, paid marketing, organic reach, various channels. So tell how to find the right channel for specific company if we need to focus on specific channel.
We shouldn't, in the beginning, focus on the specific channel. We
Hmm.
should. There's the 7-11-4 rule that it's going to take 7 hours of interaction. Sorry, 7 hours of engagement, 11 different interactions across 4 different channels before people will know you, like you, and trust you. And that's the Google ZMOT, Zero Moments of Truth study that was done many, many years ago. So, in our experience, that still applies for the at minimum should be where we're playing. And those channels can be anything from you have your website. So your website's a channel. So you're actually playing in search, organic and or paid. So there's there's two channels that you could be playing with by having a website. Then you could be playing in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. These are all the digital channels, right? But oftentimes we have to consider our audiences, and we're likely to have multiple audiences. So in our methodology, uh, we've innovated and we've enhanced it to break down very simply that under P, which equals purpose, we should have four pillars, and they are, what are the four pillars that we need to market to in this year, whether it's
Mhm.
calendar or financial, and because a year's broken up into 4 quarters, right?
Mhm.
Then we have research. What is the four, I guess, key phrases that we need to optimize for, or that we need to um, speak to our customers about, yeah, to educate or entertain them on our product, or edutain, as I like to use. And then, oh, what are the opportunities around that? So therefore, we might actually look at the channels. Well, we've seen that these channels are where our audiences are hanging out, um, because in the next one, it's A for audience, so proactive. We're getting through the word proactive here. A is audiences. What are the four audiences? Well, they would actually dictate, well, maybe they're an older audience that is wealthy, doesn't spend any time on social media, plays golf, drives boats, horse riding, all of those luxurious sort of activities when you've got when you've got time on your hands.
Mhm.
And so therefore we might have to use different channels. So we might actually have to use networking as a channel. We might have to use golf as a channel. We might actually need to sponsor golf clubs, as in greens and things like that. So buses, I love buses. I love bus advertising, and
Mhm.
especially when you wrap a whole bus, because you've got all sides working for you at once. Yeah. And so like when you're focusing on wealthy people, they'll be driving around. Yes, they do drive themselves a lot of the time. They're driving nice cars. They love their cars, so they could be sitting behind a bus and they could see that. But that's not going to get you the business straight away. That's just a little bit more awareness. That's working on these 7 hours. Slowly chipping away at these 7 hours of 11 different interactions before they know you, like you, trust you, right? So unless you have these multiple types of interactions, it's much harder for people to feel like they can do business with you, or even want to do business with you.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Chris, I opened your LinkedIn profile and I want to confess, I didn't read this book, Building Brands on Purpose. And let me explain why. uh, I have only 24 hours a day. So I'm so picky with books that I want to read. And I have a huge list of books, great books, many great books. And I have no time to read all these books. I want, but I can't. So I usually ask book authors to give me a solid reason to read their books. I spoke with many great book authors, a lot of valuable insights. So, can you give me and to my audience a strong reason to read your book? What kind of benefits we can get from your book? And one more thing about that, many business books are great for sleeping. When you have problems with sleep, you can take a new boring book to read it. Yeah, it probably valuable, but who knows when you want to sleep, Uh, and yeah, tell about your writing style and benefits that we can get by reading your book.
Well, it's entirely possible my books could still send someone to sleep. um, but especially the beginning, I tell my story and how and why I was writing the book, and and so the proactive marketing methodology is inside the book and is explained, um, I think, quite well. It was the the methodology did exist, but it wasn't in its complete form as it is in the book. So there, that was the epiphany that came about when I lost my purpose in life. I was uh, I was slightly depressed, and uh, then I just figured out, well, we've also that's what's missing from our marketing methodology, and that was purpose. And so, hence why it's called building brands on purpose. I did I I did a lot of research during this time, and then with my 20 years experience at the time, it was it was like, oh wow, okay, I've really got something here. I'm very excited about it, and I felt like this methodology was, a 20th century methodology for marketing, you know, for marketing in the 2020s at the very least, right? And so that is described in there, and it does break down some tactics that can be used, but more importantly, some of the questions that I think you can ask yourself when you're wanting to implement a strategy, or you're wanting to find your own personal purpose and then your brand's purpose. So that's what's in the book, and I think that it can be really, really helpful. I love that it is doing a great service to the marketing industry, because so many, I guess, newcomers to marketing, even if you're a CEO, you might not be, you know, of a company and you've worked there for 10 years. You might not have any marketing experience, right?
Yeah.
So even it can even help CEOs, but more importantly, I think newcomers to marketing, graduates. I was a graduate in 1998. And I remember walking out into the world going, shit, I really know nothing. And it's these types of books that can really, I think, um, create a big shift, because all of a sudden, when you understand strategy and understand the reason why you need to implement this strategy in your marketing, then all of a sudden your mind opens up to a whole new realm of possibilities. It's
Hmm.
like, and if I get the strategy right, then any tactic is possible.
Yeah.
And 25 years in marketing, there's been a lot of change, hasn't there? Like when I started, websites were still somewhat unknown. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Then all of the social medias didn't even exist yet. So that became a new thing. Video only really became popular. What was it, like 5 years ago? Like it was like a must. No, and live video that only existed, 7 years ago. Um, so like there's
Yeah.
been a lot of things that have changed, and so your tactics have to constantly adapt with the times, but your strategy should remain relatively the same, because it is I guess it's the overarching, you know uh, rules that you're going to play by, and then the tactics, are the how.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nice. I think marketing is a quickly changing world. So many things happen all the time. And what I think the man who can sit in such environment with great nature, with birds outside, with a cat inside, can't write a bad book. So I can hear some sounds from birds, from your cat. Love it. Yeah, I like nature. I like urban places, because yeah, you can breathe fresh air. So yeah, I'm going to read your book, guys, if you want to read this book, you can find in the description below. So I recommend to anyone. I'm going to do it. And Chris, I wanna ask about implementation. Okay, if I create a great strategy, but I don't know if it's great or not. Many things change all the time, and sometimes when I think I'm good, but implementation shows the wrong way, and I often see it. Uh, I can change my mind. I can test something else. I can go to another direction. I think it's okay. It's part of the job. Can you tell how to find it? Because sometimes we need to be patient with results. Not sometimes, or often. I don't know how to become an Instagram star overnight. It takes time to create content, to build your audience. It's the same with any channel, including paid marketing. I know some companies can lose 500K in paid marketing to get zero leads. It's terrible, but I think these companies can change if something doesn't work, if something is not good. We don't know what will work. But tell, for example, if implementation is not going right, what we plan, what to do.
Yeah. All right. So let me finish off the acronym. So proactive, purpose, research, opportunity, audience, content, turn it on. So what channels you're going to turn it on in? Ignite, how much you're going to ignite your content with, like paid advertising. V is verification and validation, and E is evolve. So the methodology from the strategic point of view the is very helpful, right? But then when you implement, you actually use the same methodology, right? Once you've done the pro part, you actually then go, okay, so I'm going to focus here for the next 3 months. This is my first pillar. This is my first quarter of focus. Here's where we're going to focus. And that is going to be directed at this particular audience in this particular channel, or we actually don't know which channel they're on. We actually think there might be like they're not just all sitting in a bucket, in one channel. So we'll actually have to go, okay, we'll have to play across multiple channels to try and find this audience. And then we know they're there, but then it's like repetition. Okay, the 7-Eleven 4, so this audience happens to be in 4 different channels. We need to slowly whittle away at the 7 hours, 11 different interactions, and 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 continually create content that appeals to them. Once you get down to the verification side of things, each and every month you have to verify uh, what's working and what isn't. And you need to look at leading and lagging indicators in your marketing. And it's made a lot easier in digital, and especially if you understand the rules that Google plays by in order to give you better rankings. So Google is an algorithm. Yes, it's a robot, but realistically, Google is still influenced by user like interactions. So people, it's still driven by what do people like. And because Google Analytics is installed on every website across the globe, Google
Yeah.
knows everything about everyone's website. And so they can ascertain, well, these people are coming for the first time, the second time, the third time. They're spending this much time on this page and this much time here. They're clicking through to multiple pages. This page on this particular website is actually quite beneficial to this audience. Let's give it a bit of a boost in ranking. So rankings, Google rankings is actually a perfect indicator that you are doing something right. But sometimes it's highly competitive. So therefore, the keywords that you're going after might be super competitive. It'll take you years to even reach first page. So therefore, we need to find our niche and what is that keyword or key phrase that is less competitive, but really close to what describes our product or our service, and focus on that. When we start to see early stage results, and these are so granular, like time on site, how much time, like what's the average time on page? Yeah, what's that like? Is it and how many pages are people consuming? So, for example, you might have uh, 1,000 or so people coming to your website, and it might start off as, oh, users are consuming one page, on average. But then as you send more traffic, those pages go from one to 1.4, etc., etc. And when you start to see, oh, they're consuming 2 pages, 2.4 pages, 2.8 pages, then you'll start to see this shift in, oh, we might not have reached first page yet, but our Google ranking is climbed up slightly. Right, now we're starting to get very early stage results. It's like the plant is starting to grow, but you just can't see it yet because it's still below the soil, right? It's still
Mhm.
growing. It's just below the soil. So there comes a time when it pokes its head up above the soil, and then all that could be your first sale, or that could be, oh, we got to page 1, but we're hovering between 10 and 12. So these little indicators, these leading indicators, time on page and ranking, are super important to analyze at the verification phase. And if you're not getting those, then that's when you look at evolve and you go, right, what's working, what isn't working, what have we done
Mhm.
here? Is blogging still important to us? Well, I would say yes, it is. In every case. Okay, blogging is still very valuable. We want 1,000 words a page, and sometimes we just can't do that. Sometimes we just can't put 1,000 words on a page because, far out, if we did that, it'd just look terrible, and people are very into aesthetics these days. So we should write those 1,000-word pages in blogs. Now, maybe the channel's not working. What's happening here? Is the content we're putting out on this channel actually resonating with our audience? No, it's not. It's the same stuff we're putting on Instagram, and that's a different audience. So, okay, we need to start changing that up. Right. Let's test that phase. Let's test that. And so let's create some content specifically for the Facebook audience. Okay. How are we going to figure out if this content is going to get cut through in the shortest possible time? We need people to engage with it. Okay, so let's not spend the huge amount of hours creating stupid amounts of content, but let's create some great content for that audience, put it on Facebook, and pay to boost its reach.
Yeah.
Right? That's working smart, not hard. That's letting your money work for you. And so then you boost its reach, see if you get greater engagement, see if you get click-throughs to the website, and then see if anything happens to your followers, or if there's any comments or likes or things like that, and go, okay. And followers aren't really happening. Why aren't followers happening? Oh, look, that could have been the click strategy or the objective you put behind that particular ad. You were asking people to go to your website, not come and follow your page. Oh, okay, right. Well, don't worry about that too much. And look, followers are often a vanity metrics anyway.
Yeah. Nice.
So that I hope that explains it.
Yeah, Chris, I wanna ask more about SEO because you share a lot of insights that concerns SEO. It's a huge channel I use a lot, and I wanna ask about choosing the right keywords. I mean, like for example, you mentioned that it's important to choose these keywords, and I see when companies do it wrong. For example, they choose high volume keywords to compete with Wikipedia, big websites. Sometimes authority is high in many keywords, but it doesn't mean that I can sell by having these keywords. For example, if I take SEO, so I need to compete with Moz, with Neil Patel, with Google itself, with big websites that deserve these ranking positions. It's tough to overcome them, but it doesn't mean that I can sell SEO services. So if even if I have this keyword. Uh, can you tell how to choose the right keywords? You mentioned that we need to choose a few keywords, or I don't know, small list of keywords. But how do we know that these keywords will sell in the end?
So there used to be a very rudimentary way of doing this, and it took a long time, and you had no tools really to help you. Um, so I won't go through that, but it is detailed in the book. So if you don't want to spend money on tools, then there is ways to find out what are the right keywords and uh, which ones to focus on and how to do that. Now there's tools. Now there's amazing tools, and yes, some of them are um, can be quite expensive, but damn the value that they provide. So Moz is one, Moz.com. It used to be called SEO Moz back when I started using it many years ago. And that particular tool helps you find keywords that people are searching for, tells you the search volume for those keywords, and then you can figure out the competitiveness of those keywords and whether or not, like, how likely it is that if you start creating content for that keyword that you're going to get Google rankings. And so a lot of the tools do similar things, and sometimes I feel like they're just more intuitive than others, or they have other tools that, you start here and then you just go to the next part and the next part and the next part. And my favorite one at the moment is SEMrush. It is just unbelievably powerful in its, I guess, its keyword research and how to, uh, and you can do that across um, different geographic markets as well. So when you're working with global companies, you need to be looking at, all right, how are we ranking in Australia, or how competitive is this keyword in Australia? What are the nuances for this keyword in America? Uh, for example, I do marketing for an ice bath company, and ice baths are a commonly used term in Australia, but in America it's cold plunge. So, it's important to know these things. And then even in Europe, winter swimming has become a popular term because like certain scientists have popularized these terms. So you in each market you could have different nuances, and SEMrush is very, very good at that.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I
Uh,
hope that helps.
yeah, I think so. I usually check traffic value then, how much traffic I can get, because once I spoke with a master who lost 400,000 traffic, a lot of traffic. He spent so much resources to deserve this traffic, but when Google dropped his ranking positions, he didn't lose any sales. So yeah, uh, I think why you need to have this traffic if you can't sell? It's the same like getting likes and comments, shares on social media. If you can't sell, why you need to have all this views? At least if you are Mr. Beast, and you get 100 million views, on your videos, so then you can sell everything. Chris, let's talk about mistakes. um, I made a lot of mistakes in marketing. I keep doing them. I think it's part of the job to test, experiment, to fail. And when I start something new, I usually fail all the time without any exception. I started PR, I failed. I wrote a bunch of press releases, pitched all of them, got zero mentions, links, nothing. But I learned how it works. I learned the process. Then I hired specialists who can write press releases. I hired specialists who can pitch them. And today we got mentions on CNN, Bloomberg, investing.com, many big websites, because we usually help trading, investing niches to get ranking positions. And I want to ask about mistakes that people can learn before doing them. I mean, like, okay, some mistakes we need to do to learn from them, but can you list mistakes that you see companies still do but can avoid?
Phew, I've made a lot of mistakes, mate, and I actually hoped at one time that I'd made them all and that I could just move on, but it's definitely not true. I think it. is important in any business to make mistakes, and that is because you're crafting a sculpture here. You Michelangelo crafting a sculpture, and so you just got to keep on chipping away at the edges until such time as you create the statue of David. And that takes a bloody long time. So and markets shift too. So these are some mistakes that could occur. For example, you could be focusing in a specific market, and all of a sudden that market is no longer there. You talk about channels. The mistake of not being across 4 different channels and focusing just on one is a huge one that I think people can avoid if they just focus, if they actually spread themselves across 4 different channels. Building a database is super important, right? Because if you're relying on social media, which is a rented space, then it's fraught with danger. We've seen pages that on Facebook just get closed down overnight, and all of a sudden someone's market's completely gone. So these are some really important things I think people need to understand, and that is that they have to play across multiple channels and build a database, and not just it has to be a complete database. You should be able to reach your audience through multiple channels as well, right? You should be able to say, okay, it's not just emails, it's not just mobiles, it's addresses as well. Therefore, I've got actually 3 opportunities to reach these people. It might be their LinkedIn handle too, like their Facebook handle, right? Where they are, so you can reach out to them if need be. If per se one of your channels dies, or even if your website dies, how do you reach these people? Having backups of your website is super important. If you're running any type of online operation, you need to be able to be resilient if and when there is a hack or a DDoS attack. You should be able to, in a day, shut down, set up on another system, and go again. These types of things. I think just valuable tactics that can be used to help keep businesses alive.
Nice.
But the mistakes are going to be made. I don't normally have to explain myself these days around the reasons why these mistakes occurred and things like that. But I do. I don't have to, but I do explain how we got to this point, and this is what occurred. So we followed this strategy. We followed this tactic, and this is where we ended up. And it didn't work out over 3 months. We've tried. Maybe should we try for another 3 months? Maybe we should have. Or sometimes for example, recently started marketing a new company. Google AdWords was one of the channels that we were ready to invest in, and we did. We put in some efforts there, and I could see very quickly that investing in Google for this particular product that was very new to the market and a first of its kind just wasn't going to work, because people weren't searching for it. People weren't searching for it, but it was still costing us ad spend on Google. So it's like, well, if we're not actually getting any sales from it and it's costing us money, then do we decide to say, yes, look, it's still valid because it's great market research? Or, like, for example, we're actually getting an audience to our website and they are finding us, right? Or do we turn that off and go all in on another channel? Yeah. So does that help?
Yeah, of course, 100%. Yeah, my wife is calling, so I
Sorry,
need.
mate.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I need to deny. So it's podcast. uh, yeah. Okay, Chris. I wanna ask very important question for my audience, because I found that I have students who are looking for ways to learn from scratch to become an expert in one great day. I have business owners, founders who want to learn the basic before cooperating with experts. So let's help both. And I'm interested. Let's imagine you started today from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. It's your first day in marketing. You still have a cat, you have these birds, kangaroo, I don't know, other animals in your environment, but you have no experience. You didn't write even one word for your book. So it's your first day. What will you do today if you started from scratch?
Okay. Um, find the problem. So get out in the real world, pound the pavement, and find out what problem exists for a specific market, and then figure out whether or not they're willing to pay to fix that problem. So, I mean, going working for someone else is very is often what you do if you've got no experience, right? Um, you go and get a piece of paper that says that you are a graduate, and all of a sudden you're an expert in a specific field, but you're really not. But you've probably got some skills under your belt. Look, if none of that applies, then you've just got to do research. You've just got to do research, and I find that the best way to do research is actually getting out and meeting people and asking questions and being a really fantastic listener.
Mhm.
Secondly, is spending a lot of time in those channels where that audience exists and trying to figure out who is creating the best content, who is implementing the best tactics, and potentially even what audiences they're actually targeting. And then you can try and figure out, well, how much they're spending. Um, I'm There is an amazing tool on the internet, and you think that I can think of its bloody name. It's really annoying me right now, but it's created by Rand Fishkin. Do you know Rand?
Yeah, of course. He spoke on this podcast.
Yeah. So what's his tool? Spark Toro.
Spark Toro, yeah.
Ah, far out, man. That tool is amazing. Uh, like to actually understand an audience, what they might be searching for, and where they might be hanging out. What a fantastic tool. So that could be your first point of call, honestly. Like, if you don't feel like getting off your bum and walking and actually pounding the pavement and going to networking groups and joining communities, um, then that's the digital way to do things, right? Use Spark Toro. But I still think that the real world integration of yourself into an environment is invaluable. The things that you find out about people and their problems, you know, um, joining members like membership groups. For example, I'm a committee member for the Australian Institute of Company Directors here on the Gold Coast, and so when I'm part of that group and I'm in that environment, I start to understand the problems that those directors of massive companies are having, and I like to ask them questions so I can interview them without getting them on a podcast. Um, five 5 minute quick interviews, and that's basically the perfect environment to do so. And you start to understand people's problems and whether or not you can create a solution for them.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. Valuable. Chris, I have my final question about the future. Um, I have my crystal balls, but it didn't work. I don't know why. I asked a few times about the crypto price, but when I felt crypto will go down, it went up and vice versa. So I don't believe on this crystal ball. But I want to ask you, probably you have much better crystal ball, and let us know what kind of future will be, because we have AI today. Apple is going to launch augmented reality. Many things are happening fast. Technologies are growing fast. So your input about the future, what do you think?
Mate, technology's always been growing very fast, but the actual implementation and the uptake has actually been quite slow. If you look back just in my 25 years, I remember VR was going to take over 25 years ago. And it still hasn't taken
Yeah.
over. Like we've seen the invention of the metaverse, and we've seen movies like Ready Player One come out to tell us that that's exactly how we're going to be spending our time, living in a steel container, and then spending our days in a virtual world. It's entirely possible that these things could play a part in our life, and they are playing a part in some people's lives. But I think it's just important to experience as many of these things as possible, because you're right, no one has a crystal ball, and have a very open mind about these things. So AI at the moment is considered a very good intern. Yeah, very helpful in helping you to create some content for your social media, for your blogs, for your website, albeit it's still not perfect, and it certainly is still rather robotic. That being said, will it get better? Yes. So when it gets better, what's going to happen then? Well, we'll have more time to do something else. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and then we'll just end up spending, more time. I've got this stupid line on my face. I'm trying to avoid the shadow, mate. Then we'll spend more time, doing something else. Look at that. That's ridiculous. There we
No
go.
worries. It's
Okay.
audio podcast, so people will
Okay.
listen.
Okay.
So
So yeah, so I think that uh, AI is obviously the next big thing, or is already a big thing, and all it will do is make us better marketers if we use it. Yeah.
yeah, awesome. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Chris, it's a big pleasure to get on my show to learn from you. I am going to read your book. I recommend to anyone who listens this episode. You can see a lot of valuable insights. So you can learn more about Chris by reading his book, by listening to his podcast, by following him on social media. So tell which way the best. I mean, the best way to follow you, where you are active to share new valuable insights.
Look, I have been very quiet this last year, mainly because it's been busy in the agency, and I didn't have time to for our agency to create our own content as well. So
Mhm.
2024 is going to be different. I will be doing a lot more podcasting, and setting myself some pretty hairy, audacious goals there. Reading Building Brands on Purpose, I think, is a great place for CEOs and marketing people to start. It does give some general knowledge about, marketing and all the different channels and how they intersect and interact with each other. So I would encourage people to read that. I haven't created the audio book version. I think that will come probably later next year, or maybe 2025. That because there's been some developments and iterations of the proactive marketing methodology that have I think uh, been very important, and make it even easier for people to develop their strategies. So where am I going to be most active?
Mhm.
LinkedIn is by far and away, I think, one of those platforms that I have the biggest audience, and so I will focus there, and it lends itself very well to all of the video content that I'll create. And then, yeah, the proactive podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, um, and Instagram if you care about all the other silly crap that I like to talk about, like eating, you know, basically eating cleaner and following a plant-based diet and improving your gut health and all that sort of stuff.
Nice, nice. Love it, love it. Thank you, Chris. A big pleasure that you found this time in the morning, that I can listen to your birds, I can listen to you, I can learn a lot more. I think my audience can do as well. Guys, if you wanna connect with Chris, you can find links in the description below. You can connect with his cat, to read his book, to get a lot more insights. So stay tuned. And thanks a lot for listening and watching us.